Are there things you've always wanted to do but didn't because a little voice in your head was sitting there telling you you can't do that? That's the voice of your limiting beliefs, and that little voice does not have your best interest at heart. In fact, that little voice may be lying to you. If we haven't met before, I'm Shelley from Taming Frenzy. Today I want to talk about a strategy that can help you overcome some of your limiting beliefs. Now, I've talked in some previous videos about some very common limiting beliefs, and I'll share some of the ones that I have struggled with. One limiting belief is, I'm too old. Another, I'm not pretty enough. I'm too fat. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the right experience. I'm not social enough. People just won't like me. There are other common limiting beliefs as well that people buy into. For example, I'm not techie. I don't have the right skills. There's no way I could learn to whatever it is. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't know where I'd begin to get help. I wouldn't even know where to start. Oh, I could never, and then fill in the blank. So your first step is to identify some of the limiting beliefs that you hold. And I would encourage you to simply take out a piece of paper, something like this, where you then list out some limiting beliefs that you tend to buy into. Some of those ugly things that you believe about yourself. Now, once you've gotten those things listed on a piece of paper, the next thing for you to do is to start critically examine and ask yourself, where did those limiting beliefs come from? Did those beliefs about yourself come from your parents? Did they come from teachers? Were they things that people told you when you were young? Did they come from some negative experience that you had a long time ago in the past? Did they come from observing someone else's experience and you generalized it assuming that you would have the same experience? Think back to the times that you were told that you couldn't do or couldn't be something. How did that make you feel? How did you react? Did it make you angry? Or did it make you just accept that as a truth without even questioning it? Identifying the source of our limiting beliefs is an important step to overcoming them. Third, take a very cold, hard, critical look at each of the limiting beliefs that you have bought into about yourself. Often we've accepted something as the truth when it's anything but the truth. For example, we may tell ourselves, I'm too old to do whatever it is that you want to do. Let me tell you a little story about that, a true story. When I married into the family 40 years ago, my mother-in-law was in her mid-50s, and yet she always went around talking about how, well, she was in her mid-50s and she was probably going to die soon because both of her parents had died in their early 60s, so she probably didn't have long to live. She was getting old and death was probably just right around the corner. As a result, there were a lot of things she didn't do because she was convinced that she didn't have very long to live, that she was going to die before very long. Here's the kicker. She was 94 when she died. My Nana, on the other hand, had the opposite reaction about age. To my Nana, she had a definition of old. An old person was someone who was not in the decade right beyond the decade you were in, but the decade after that. For example, when my Nana was in her 50s, old was not someone in their 60s. Old was someone in their 70s. That 60 decade was way too close. Once she was in her 70s, an old person was someone in their 90s. Because once she had crossed that decade into whatever the decade was, the 60s or the 70s, it was too close to see that that next decade was really on the horizon and was coming up faster than she wanted to admit. So old was always the decade after. My Nana never said she was old because to her, old was always a decade plus away. As a result, she did things she wanted to do, and basically she went down swinging, and she didn't stop until the very, very end. Nothing got her down. Now, once you have looked at all of your critical beliefs, you need to critically examine each of them. And then you need to ask yourself some questions. For example, what evidence do you have to support that this limiting belief about yourself is true? What evidence do you have that contradicts this limiting belief? What things have you done in your life that show that this limiting belief is not true? What things have you learned as you have lived and gained experience and knowledge about yourself that prove this limiting belief is not true? What successes have you had in any area of life? But what successes have you had that prove that a particular limiting belief about you is incorrect? As you go through these questions and start asking yourself and looking at what evidence do you have that's supporting evidence, what contradictory evidence do you have, what experiences do you have that support or contradict, as you critically look at each of those things and really start to dig deep and examine, you're going to most likely find out that many of the limiting beliefs that you have believed about yourself are not true. You're going to find more evidence that proves that you are a competent, capable, intelligent, and successful person, and that all of those limiting beliefs you've bought into from the past, that they're inaccurate. They are lies. Now, going through this process is not something that you can do in 5 minutes. In fact, it's not something I would even suggest you try to do necessarily while you're watching this video. I would encourage you to write the questions down, or if you like, I've got this worksheet over on my website, and I will link to that in the comments below. And I would encourage you to spend a little time with yourself, really digging deep and thinking about all of the things that you have believed about yourself, all of those things that I'm too old and I'm not smart enough and I'm not pretty enough and nobody would want to listen to me. All of those things that you have been telling yourself that have been keeping you from pursuing your goals and dreams. Spend some time with yourself examining what the limiting beliefs are, where they came from, and really looking at all of those questions. What are the actual things that make you believe and that can help you prove to yourself that those beliefs are not true? It is worthwhile time that will help you get over some of those limiting beliefs and help you put those things off in the past so that you can move forward into the future that you desire. Now, once you've done that, just a couple of other short, quick, easy little things that I recommend. One thing that I recommend that I always used to tell the teachers that worked with me, I used to tell them to always keep a kudo file. It's also been called a yay file or a ta-da file or, whatever, a good things file. But basically, this is a file you keep where it can be a physical file or a digital file, but where you keep all of those nice things that you've ever been told about yourself, compliments you've been given. If somebody wrote you a nice thank you note or a nice thank you letter, it's where you can file and keep that. It's where you write down any of those positive things that people have said, because here is something that is true for all of us. We are all much more likely to remember the negative comments, the negative experiences, the negative things that have happened. Those seem to magnify and get bigger with us, and we remember those things forever, it seems like. And we tend to then just kind of tend to forget about and discard all of the positive things that have been said to us or about us. So keep a kudo file. When you are feeling a little bit low, or when you're feeling like you're not competent or not able to do something, pull that file out or open it up if it's on your computer and read through it and get a confidence boost. It's good for us. Another way to help deal with limiting beliefs is journaling. I've talked about journaling in other videos, but to work out some of those limiting beliefs and some of those negative things that are in your head, to spend some time writing them down and getting them out and working through them is also very worthwhile time and can help you deal with and overcome your limiting beliefs. Here's the ultimate truth. Your limiting beliefs can only hold you back if you decide that you're going to buy into them and let them hold you back. The ultimate holder of power is you. I hope that you'll continue to watch the rest of the videos in this series on limiting beliefs. Hit the subscribe button, and until next time, let's all tame some frenzy.